think we have enough surprises in our lives right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good morning, good afternoon, depending on what coast you're on. Good evening if you're watching this delayed. We will be coming at you live in just a moment. We'll be kicking things off, but want to give you all a few moments to get settled and grab your lemonade, grab your lunch, push your kids into another room, go outside, do whatever you need to do. While everyone is logging on, if you want to just type in the chat where you're tuning in from, it would be great to see where everybody's coming from today. So you could just type that in the chat. Let's see where everyone is coming from. For those of you who are new to Facebook Live, you can see us. We can't see you. We were just discussing the likelihood of people wearing pants during this time. And the three of us, I can assure you, are all wearing pants. One of us might be wearing a skirt, and I'll let you guess which one of us that is. All right, we've got Donna from New Jersey and Ethan. We've got April from Seattle.
Donna, the birthday girl.
We've got Ivy from Wisconsin. Happy birthday, Donna. For those of you who would like to grab a pen and some paper, that might be helpful. If you have to go for any reason or leave early, this will be available for recording and playback, both here on this page that you're already on, so good job, and also on our YouTube page. So that will be available for playback. And also, if you enjoy the content, if you've been on here before, you can hit the share button or the watch party button, and that will allow you to share with all of your friends that you're watching this and bring some more people in to enjoy this live, because it is fun playing around with all of you live. Also, if you are a Pathways grad or not a Pathways grad, this is open to everybody. So that's really a great feature. And if it's new, if this is your first time, yes, we are already on session number 14. You have not missed anything. It was great. It's all been great, and you can go back and watch it later, but stay with us live. You will feel totally caught up and part of it. We'll explain everything, so you can play along with us while we're here. And I will be all of your voices. Sorry about that. My name's Turin. I am a Pathways grad and a creative director, and I've been working with Pathways on their social media and adapting to online audiences, like doing these lemonade sessions. So go ahead and type questions or comments that you have in the chat, and then I will share them with Bruce and Amanda and be your voice and host / moderator, maybe little entertainment. We'll see where the day goes. And before we kick things off, I want to tell you a little bit about a couple of things. First of all, I want to say, if you are thinking about love in a time like this, and maybe how you don't have the relationship you would like, or you are single and looking for a relationship, Fix Your Picker is coming. It starts tomorrow evening. It's 2 weeks, Tuesday night, and it's going to be amazing. It's going to be really fun, really, I've heard it's a really great seminar, and there's a lot of just playfulness and laughter and honesty about relationships. You can sign up for it still. There's a link on the page that you are already on. It's called Fix Your Picker. You can click that and sign up. I will be in the class. And so you already know somebody in the class, which is great. You know, there's always a nervous feeling of what if I don't know anyone? Well, you already do. So no excuses there. Also, I want to talk a little bit about who brings us our session today and tell you a little bit about the Lemonade Sessions. So the Lemonade Sessions were created by Pathways to Successful Living and are now being sponsored by a grant from Pathways to a Better World. Better World is a nonprofit 501c3 organization overseen by a volunteer board of Pathways grads, some of whom are on the call today, and it provides support to people who would like to attend Pathways courses but need financial assistance. Better World believes that the Lemonade sessions offer great value to grads and non-grads alike during these uncertain times when in-person courses are not available. So thank you so much to A Better World. There's a donate button. If you want to click it, you can make a donation to A Better World while you're watching, if you're feeling like it and are able to. So for those of you who don't know Pathways, it's been around for over 35 years. More than 45,000 people have gone through the seminar rooms when we had rooms. Now we have Zooms and virtual rooms, which is great. We'll add to that number virtually as well. And we've got two facilitators here today. We've got Bruce and Amanda, and I'll let you guess who is who are going to be talking to us about the idea of support. And that, I think, could not come at a better time. We've done a little bit of talking about support in the past, but we're going to do a real deep dive today. So I'm super excited. Bruce, if you want to introduce yourself, and we'll kick things off. And as you have questions or comments, you can go ahead and type them in the chat.
Great. Bruce Bloom. I'm a facilitator at Pathways. I've been facilitating the basic seminar with Amanda since 2009. Around there. I'm a 2003 grad of the basic class, and then I went and did advanced in leadership and started volunteering in all the staff positions, and eventually I facilitated the guest event, and now I have the pleasure of doing the basic seminar with Amanda. And I'm excited to be here with all of you. I know many of you that are on the call, and if there's some of you that are new, we're so excited to be here with you and to share our thoughts and provide our support to you as we think about the whole concept of support. Amanda?
Awesome. Thanks, Brucey. Well, it's great to be with all of you again. It's been so much fun doing these Lemonade sessions, and I hope it's been fun for all of you out there too. And just a chance to sort of connect to, so for those of you who are grads, a chance to reconnect with what you've learned in Pathways and learn some more tools and skills. As you know, as all of you know, we're always learning and always growing and always evolving. And if you are not a Pathways grad, we welcome you. And we're so glad that you're joining us on here. You're tapping into a huge community of people who are growing together and learning together. And I hope that everything you've learned on these sessions has been useful and helpful. Every time I've plugged in, whether it's been a Bruce session or a Sue session, every time I've plugged in, I've learned something new, and I've been doing this work over half my life. I'm a 1994 grad from the seminars, so a long time ago, and I've been teaching the seminars for about 20 years, and so it's been such an honor and pleasure, and I love getting to do these sessions with Bruce. Secretly, it's just my way of getting to do this with him, because we don't get to do the live seminar weekends, which we love and have a blast in. And it's so sad that we don't get to do that. So I wanted Bruce to join me on as many of these as possible, mainly for selfish reasons, just so I get to be with you, buddy. And Taryn, you are in rare form today. I mean, you're always clever and creative and funny. So but you're in rare form today, girl. You must be in a really good mood.
It's the isolation.
Yeah. So as Bruce and I were thinking about what to cover on this session, I think we both had some ideas about the concept of support and how important that is right now. And I think it's something that a lot of us are struggling with right now. You know, the fact that we aren't directly with people, unless it's people in your household, but we're not in those different environments of work and social and schools and all that kind of stuff. And so I think what adds to the feeling of isolation in our lives right now is this sort of lack of creating support. And when I think about it, you know, there's no greater time to need it than times like this, where we do feel isolated and alone in certain ways, and afraid in certain ways about what's happening and where things are going and when's this all going to end. And, you know, there's so many things emotionally and mentally that are coming up for all of us right now that, you know, I can think of no greater time to look at creating more support for ourselves than right now. as I've mentioned, every time I've been on these sessions, the time that these pathways tools are especially useful are in these times of stress or uncertainty or fear, or the times in life where things aren't going swimmingly or the way that we'd like them to. And so utilizing the tools helps us kind of shift that and turn that around. And so we're going to talk about creating, not only getting support for yourself, which of course is important, but also the giving of support right now. Because in all the sessions I've done, there's been a lot of sharing about how to support other people. And it seems like there's a lot of sort of conflict about how to do that effectively. So we want to cover not only the getting, but also the giving part today. So as we dive into this, as always, we want this to just be super interactive because we want to support as many of you individually as possible. So what I want you to start typing into the chat box is the areas that you're struggling in around support, whether it's some particular, whether you're not getting yourself supported at all and you need it, or you're having trouble supporting others, or whatever areas in your life right now, whether it be with your kids or work or your relationship or finances or health, or any of those areas of your life where you might be struggling with creating support. We want to take some examples from you so we can specifically talk to what it is that you're struggling with. So as you're doing that, and Taryn's going to feed us the information that comes in, as you're doing that, first I want to think about, why is this important to look at? Why is this a concept that it's a big concept that we cover in all of our seminars, but why do we want to address it right now? Well, if you're a grad, you know that creating support, it's one of those components of success that we talk about. We need other people in life to get where it is that we need to go. If we just do things on our own all the time, we eventually feel a lot of things: lonely, disconnected. And if you think about it in life, how much more efficiently and effectively we can create our goals and things that we want to do and have and be with the support that is around us. And not many of us have sort of grown up in life with the effective tools to create support. So is anybody sharing anything yet, Taryn, about places that they're struggling?
Yeah, so, and keep typing those answers in to the chat and we'll read them. So Dawn says, struggling to get support with homeschooling 2 kids as a single mom while working remotely. There's just not enough time in the day.
Yeah, I can so relate to that. It's almost like we have to have this whole shift in the way that we structure our days. And I'm such a routine person. Like I'm so consistent in my life in most areas. Like I could get up and do the same exact thing at the same time every single day and be perfectly happy. That's just how I structure my busy life. So this has been such an upset to that whole scenario that I've had to find a completely new way to structure my days around work and the kid and my son doing his e-learning and working out and all the cooking dinner and all the stuff that's going on right now. It's been like a whole shift in restructuring of that. So Dawn, let me ask you this: what ways have you been or actually, let me ask it this way: what's been getting in the way of you asking for support? Or yeah, let's start there. What's been getting in the way of you asking for support? So anything she's going to add to that?
Yeah.
Anybody sharing there, Taryn?
Yeah. So we've also got, and Dawn, while you're typing that in there, we've got some more comments. So Coco says, I'm feeling isolated from work. I've been working from home now for 6 weeks and I feel like I no longer belong.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Can you relate to that one, Bruce?
Oh, absolutely. The company that I work for, I've been working remote since July, except for the times I fly over to England to be part of the company. And in the past, up until the fact that we're now all working from home, I was the guy on the phone and everybody else was in a conference room. So I was, felt really separate from everybody else. Now that everybody's on every Zoom call and I can see all 9 people at the same time, I actually feel more connected. But depending on whether you're by yourself and doing your work and not seeing people at the water cooler or sitting next to people, it can be really challenging. Our company's getting ready to put together a questionnaire. I actually put it together around what's working for you at home, what's not working for you, how much better or worse is it compared to other work. And I think a lot of companies and businesses are struggling right now around how to do this in the midst of just trying to keep their businesses afloat, thinking of supporting each other and every one of their employees. I will say that at our company, one of the great things was in the first couple of weeks, we encouraged everybody that was having a problem to say what it was so that we could collect those and try and figure them out. So if you're feeling isolated at work, I wonder, where is it that you can share this and what kind of support is available at the workplace, and who do you know that's in a similar position that you might ask for some kind of support around the things that they've tried. So yeah, I think it can be isolating for those of us who are already isolated. It's very connecting to have everybody in the same place.
Yeah.
I've also, because I haven't seen any of my coworkers since the first week of March, and I've actually been telling people how much I miss them, and that makes a difference. I just will call up my coworker or my boss. I haven't seen my boss face to face since the first week of March, and I really miss him. Like, I just miss that face to face, being able to share ideas and talk about work, and I just miss that camaraderie of the people that I work with that I really care about. And so I think just me sharing that with people, how much I miss them and can't wait till we're back together again, has made a big difference too.
Yeah. Got a couple others, and then I've got some answers for you from Don and from Coco. So just another couple things and places people are struggling. Barbara from Long Island says, I can't get organized enough. Structure is difficult for me. And then Marie says, I have for most of my life tried to do things on my own. It's hard for me to ask for support during this time. I have okay with not having to deal with the outside world except for working and my boys. I'm struggling with trying to figure out what I really want in life. In the past, I lose myself into other people. I feel like I have no direction at this time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that leads into kind of part of what we want to delve into is, why don't we get support, or what sort of gets in the way of us creating any sort of support for ourselves in our lives? And there's so many reasons. There are reasons like, well, I don't want other people to think that I'm not capable of something, or that I'm weak in some area, or there's something wrong with me that I need help. I don't want other people to view me that way. And so sometimes we pretend like we've got it all together instead of really let people in on where we're at and what we need. So that's a big reason. Also, sometimes we think that other people can't either solve our problems or can't do it as well as we do it. And so we don't ask for support because we just think we can do it best on our own. Yeah. As Corinne is pointing at herself. Yes.
I had more arms, I would point with more arms.
Yeah. So, it's like little things. And I give this example in basic, but I tell you, I have so noticed it about myself during this shelter at home period. So in terms of little things like housework, so I live in a house with 3 other adult boys and adult men and a 12-year-old boy, perfectly capable of doing many things around the house, but there's certain things that I just feel like I have to do, and so instead of ask for it to be done in a certain way, or um and for part of it for me is I just want it done, right? And so, but then I notice that sometimes I feel frustrated about that, and so knowing that there's 4 other capable human beings in my house that could support me, and so that sometimes gets in the way of asking for support. Also, I think a big one right now is other people are struggling too, and so I don't want to inconvenience anybody by putting my stuff on them. They're busy, they're trying to figure out how to deal with all this. They've got a lot going on, and so and oftentimes we make ourselves less important than others, and we use that as a reason to not reach out to people. Like those examples a couple of you gave about support with your kids, to think about reaching out to other parents to see how they've been handling certain things. And when I think about doing that, again, what comes up for me is, oh my gosh, they're busy, they've got so much going on, they're not going to want to take time for me. But it's so not the truth, because when I have reached out to other parents about what they're doing and how they're juggling their jobs and house and this e-schooling and all this stuff, what it's created is such a sense of connection with those parents, that they feel like, oh, okay, there's somebody else in my boat, and then I get some tips from them, or share some tips for them, or but it creates this sort of openness and connection versus when I'm not willing to do that and then just feeling isolated and alone. Because there's so many parents out there that have so many different ideas and ways of handling this whole at-home schooling thing. And when we're sharing that knowledge with one another, we can really lift each other up and really support each other as parents right now.
Yeah.
And so what
Amanda,
other,
can I just
yeah,
say something about that? So I think, one of the great things about asking for support is the gift it gives to somebody else to be there. And, I know right now, as you said, I feel more connected when my kids call me or some people at work call me. It feels great. It fills me up, when I'm feeling isolated, to have the opportunity to support somebody else. And we're going to talk about that later, but it's so important. We deprive ourselves of getting the support we need, but we deprive other people of getting the gift of giving support and feeling connected.
that's so true. And I think that's something that we just don't think about, that my asking them for support is a gift to them.
Mm-hmm.
What? Like, that's never something that I ever had attached to that before learning this through Pathways. And I think that's such a valuable point.
Yeah, and it's not really always a gift to them, but it's the opportunity for them to give you a gift. For some people will find it's a burden, and some people won't have time. But the ones that do, it's such a great opportunity. They're waiting to be asked to give that kind of support, especially to somebody that they care about.
Yeah.
And it does increase that connection. Thanks for reminding us about that.
I think too, especially in a time like this, where the way we're supporting and the thing we're being asked to do is to do nothing, essentially stay home, don't do this, don't do that, or whatever, to have an opportunity to do something to help somebody else, in a lot of ways can be even more rewarding than it would in a pre-COVID world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So true. All right, what else is being shared there,
Yeah.
Teresa?
So on the topic of kids and schooling and all of that, Dawn said, I'm asking my kids for support to be self-starters. They're trying some. And also I'm asking for support from the ex. His answer is that he's working full-time, not from home, and is too tired at the end of the day on his days with the kids, and feels that since I'm home, I should be able to just take care of it.
Mm-hmm.
Can I jump in here? So when my kids were small, I was doing some consulting from home, and I offered my my spouse was running a business that we had. And so I said, I'll stay home and take care of Allie 3 days a week, and you go work at the gallery. It was unbelievable how much work it was to take care of a kid and try and do my work. And I only had one at a time. And it made me so much more aware in the future when Stacy decided to actually step back and not work and be a full-time parent, how much I appreciated how she never got away from the office when she was at home, because that was her place of work. And so, for Dawn, this is a sort of a little bit off the topic, because one of the things we're going to talk about is trying not to turn a no into a yes around support, because we spend a lot of energy trying to to turn somebody. But one of the things around getting support is asking curious questions and hearing where the other person is at to see what the opportunity might be. So if your spouse is working full-time and tired at the end of the day, where they're thinking, you need this much of their support, maybe what you really need is this much of support, so can you take the kids on the weekend? Is there one night a week where, you could do this? And part of our getting support is being clear on what we need and how to arrange it. So maybe the other person, especially in a situation where there are some key people to give us support, like an ex-spouse, rather than just some neighbor, seeing if you can ask questions and be curious, because a lot of times we go into reaction around that kind of stuff. Like, we need support and we say something and we get this cut and dried, I'm not going to help you because I have my own problems. And then we shut down instead of saying, well, I hear that you're busy working, and, I can completely understand how you'd be tired at the end of the day. And maybe there's some time that we could still find where, you have the energy for the kids and I could get a break. And that way, maybe you can create some space in there where you can get the support you need.
Just to add on to that, I think what also creates the reaction is we expect the other person to do it like we would do it. And I don't know if that's mixed in with this for you, Dawn, that you would expect him to parent like you parent, or support them with schooling like you would, or we have all these expectations of how we think the other person should be doing certain things. And that gets in the way too, especially sometimes when it's an ex situation, because there's already sort of some emotion there and judgment there, and all sorts of things that add to that dynamic of those relationships. But again, sometimes we just expect we have way too high of expectations of what the other person can do, will do. And then that just leads to our judgment towards them. And then that just leads to distance and anger and frustration, versus, like what Bruce said, finding out, number one, what do you need from him specifically? And does he know this? Does he know what you're thinking and what it is, the exact support that you need? So that would be an important thing to share. And Bruce is going to talk about some effective ways of creating support for yourself in your life. Before he goes into that, is there anything else there, Taryn?
Yeah, just a couple things I think are great to share, and a lot of people will be able to relate to. So Marie says, I do feel something is wrong or lacking with me, and I also don't have it as bad as others, so I should not feel as bad around what's holding her back from asking for support.
Definitely a reason that we use to not ask for support.
Yeah.
People's problems are worse than me. They've got it worse than me. Other people need it more than me. Again, that's how we make ourselves less important. And, whenever I've done that, if I've looked deeper at my motivation around that, I think the deeper reason is that I don't want to get rejected. I don't want to hear, no, they don't want to support me, or no, they can't support me. I don't want to hear that. And so sometimes and again, this goes back to if you were on the victim, martyr, villain training, or if you're a grad, you know what this is. So those of us who are good martyrs, we like to put others' happiness before ours, right? And so we'll make ourselves less important. But if you really look deeper under all of that, it's a fear of being rejected, not being able to get our needs met, not being important. So if I hear no from the other person, it just sort of solidifies that belief I already have going on inside me that I'm not important or I'm not enough. And I don't want to, I don't want to deal with that or feel that. And so we'll just make others more important than us. But again, that leads us back to doing things all on our own and feeling alone. And, it's sort of that vicious cycle we get ourselves into.
Yeah. Just a couple other things from the chat before we go on. Karen says, all my son's friends' parents are married. I'm losing my self-esteem. And as something to prevent asking for support.
Sorry. Wait, say that other one first, Corinne.
All my son's friends' parents are married. So I'm losing my self-esteem.
Maybe some more clarity on that. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, Karen, if you want to type in a little bit more about what you mean about that in the chat. And then Odette is the perfect segue to our next topic about reminds me of looking for the yes. If someone can't provide support when I need it, I can keep looking for what I need.
Yeah, that is a great segue. So let's talk a little bit about how to ask for support in addition to the things that we've said. So I think the first thing is to really, first of all, be clear that whatever issue we have that we're dealing with, that we've done everything that we can think of to do. So, we don't want to be lazy and just ask people for support because it would be easier for them to do it than for us to do it. So, and sometimes we don't exactly know what it is that we need to do. We just have this problem in front of us, like, I don't know how to manage my kids and get my work done while we're all together. I've tried these 3 things. I don't know what else to try. So now you've done all that you can do first. That's the first thing. Second thing is to try and be as clear as possible in what you're asking, what Amanda said to Dawn about what, she might need from her ex. And again, sometimes we're not sure what it is we need, but if that's true, then let's be clear about that. I'm not exactly sure what support I need. I just know I have this problem. And then tell the other person when you're asking them, here's the issue that I have, and I'm not really sure what to do, but here are the things I've tried, and here's the result I've gotten. That way you give the person you're asking support for context to not tell you to do the things you've already tried, so that you can maximize their time. Make sure when you're asking for support that you've done all the heavy lifting that you can do on your side. And I'll give you an example of that. I often have people say to me, would you be willing to support me? I'm doing exercise, every week. Will you check in with me on Friday and see how I'm doing? Well, that has me doing all the heavy lifting on the check-in. What I say to them, I'm totally willing to support you. Why don't you check in with me on Friday and I'll be your accountability partner and you can tell me what you've done. And that way, if I don't hear from them, then I can check in. Otherwise, I'm doing the heavy lifting for them. So you shouldn't ask the other person to do the heavy lifting. Be flexible in what you can use from the other person and yet set boundaries. So, if you're asking somebody for support around what you should do with your kids while you're working, and, they say to you, well, I don't know, but let me buy you Disney Plus. Well, that might be really nice, to sit your kids in front of the TV and they can watch, every cartoon that's ever been made, but maybe that's not within the boundaries of how you want your kids to be spending their time. So be careful about what kind of support you can get. And the obvious thing is to be grateful and understanding whatever response you get from somebody. And I think what I said earlier to Dawn about being curious when somebody says no, it could be really clear that this person's just not ready to support you, and to really thank them. And So here's a couple of things to sort of guide you when you think about this. And the first thing I would say is give yourself permission to ask. So that's what Amanda and I have been talking about in the first half of this, is that you're important, your issues matter, and so give yourself permission that, you might get a no, but you'll definitely get a yes if you put yourself out there eventually. Also, try and figure out a way that you can do this where you don't sound like somebody who's not capable. You're just up against something and you're not sure what to do. Second thing is to provide some context around it. So as I said, the person knows what you've tried and really clearly what the issue is. Make sure you make a request, because sometimes we lob something out there hoping somebody will grab onto it, where we're afraid to say, can you help me? We just say, oh, I have this problem, and then we stop, and we hope the other person will move into that empty space. But go ahead and expand your comfort zone and actually make the request. It really helps to be open and vulnerable and honest about these things. And one of the things that we find when we do pathways is how much more alike we are than different. And yet all of us, when we're struggling, we think we're the only one that has a problem like this. And it turns out when we're really open and vulnerable and honest about what's going on, we so often find out that everybody that we know has a similar kind of issue, either in the past or in the present, and they can really empathize with what we're doing. And sometimes that openness and vulnerability is what brings somebody in to want to support us. As I said earlier, be curious about the responses you get so that you can find out what's going on, and there might be some other ideas that you'll get that you weren't even thinking about might be helpful in the kinds of things. And then the last piece is to express appreciation, whatever you get from somebody, even somebody who's a definite no. Say, you know what, I just want to thank you for being available to talk to me, and that I know that I can reach out and share what's going on with me, and thank you for listening to what I had to say. Because at that point, the opportunity to reach out to them again is continues to be open. So those are some things that I think really can be helpful when you're thinking about asking for support. So we're going to go into a little exercise. Turin, any comments that have popped in while we've been talking that we need to address first?
Let's see here. No, let's keep going, and then we can talk about more things. Yeah.
Hey,
Well, yep.
Hey, let me just add one thing. I love everything that you just said, and something that just came to my mind when it comes to asking for support is to be aware of who you're asking for support from. And what I mean by that is sometimes if we're struggling with something, we might take the easy route. When I say we, I guess I'm saying me, might take the easy route and reach out for support. So we have some choices in that moment. Either A, we can do nothing, right? If we're struggling with something and just keep it all inside. B, we could reach out to someone who is gonna sort of validate my own story or kind of support me in just sort of being the victim about it. And we all have friends like that. I'm sure you can relate to that. So let me call the easy person and vent to them, and they'll tell me how I shouldn't be being treated that way, and how I deserve more, and someone who's not going to have me look at my part at all, right? But what this education has taught me is that if there's a problem in front of us, like Bruce said, both, especially if it's involving another person, both people have a part, right? And that includes me too. So if I really want to change something or get support to have something work better, then I got to look to the people who are going to support me in doing something different. And I don't always want to hear that. I don't always want to hear that I have to be the one to do something different. But I know that's the only way something is going to shift, because I can't wait for the other person to change and make it better for me. I have to take the reins and do that. And so my whole point in just adding this is looking for the people who will really challenge us in effective ways and be there for us in effective ways. And You probably all know someone like that, hopefully have someone like that in your life who will, really kind of nudge you in that direction. So I just
That's
wanted to add that point because that just kept coming up for me there.
Yeah, that's such a great point. And the other piece that that brings up is it might feel like more of a challenge to ask that person, but
Yeah.
because you know that they've struggled and moved through those kinds of things, they're going to be much more open to seeing how support can be helpful and much more likely to support you than somebody who's also in the midst of all that struggling and can't figure it out for, you know, how they want to support themselves. So even though it might be a bigger risk, there's much greater opportunity to get what you need.
Yep, for sure.
So let's give you, we're not going to do this exercise here because we don't have the sort of time and the bandwidth on Zoom, but let me give you a little outline of how you might think about structuring this for yourself before we move on to how we give support. So first thing you might want to do is make a list of 3 to 5 things that you're working on. It might be as little as one. I mean, if there's one thing like Dawn right now needs to figure out what to do with her kids and work at the same time. But write down what it is that you need. It can be an easy goal to achieve or a challenging thing, but try and list at least one that is going to stretch you outside your comfort zone. And then for at least a couple of them, list 3 people that you could reach out to that you think would support you. Just write their names down, because seeing them on paper, and think about what Amanda just said around picking the right kinds of people. And maybe there's somebody specific you need, like an ex, or maybe there's just in general some people that could be helpful. But once you write their names down, it like focuses you a little bit. And then write down at least 2 things that are getting in the way of achieving your goal, especially focusing on what you're doing that's maybe getting in the way, as opposed to all the things that are getting in the way. Like, be really clear about the context so that when you share with somebody, you can help them see and empathize and understand where you are so that they can best be in a position to help you, support you. And then write down what it is you're asking for and try and be as clear and concise as you can, so that somebody knows what it is they're being asked to do and when they're asked to do it and how they'll know that they've got it done, and how you'll know that it will be helpful. And then, this is the kind of little structure that you might have written down for yourself that could guide you when you do then have a conversation. Then it's time to pick up the phone or type an email and ask somebody if they could be available for a chat of some kind. Or it might be somebody that's in your house, like Amanda was saying, there's 4 other people in her house right now. And if, she needs support around how to, do something, it may be a face-to-face conversation as well. When you ask for that support, again, be clear, can I have a 10 minutes or 15 minutes of your time sometime in the evening this week, so that they know whether they can respond to you. So think about that as sort of an outline of how you might structure something so you feel comfortable and prepared to ask somebody for some support. And while you're writing it down, things will come up for you where you might come up with some of your own ideas or think of more things that, could be valuable to you. Amanda, anything to add to that?
No, that's great.
I have one quick thing to add in there. Just as we're talking about that, it made me remember another Pathways thing that's coming soon, which is the Goal Getters group, like go-getters, but goal getters. And those will be some groups that are coming, and you'll see that on our page as well. But the purpose of that is really to have that support and that group of support, so you can ask each other for support, have accountability, and all of those things. So that's another tool and a resource that's coming soon to help support people in these times.
Great.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So we want to touch on also the value of giving support. So we want to hear from you where you may be struggling with giving support to others. Because during this during this time, sometimes we have our ideas of how other people need to be supported out there. And so, it can be kind of a tricky thing. We want to be there for others, and sometimes we're doing it very ineffectively. Like, can you relate to caretaking versus supporting? Caretaking means I do it for them. Something they're capable of doing for themselves, I'm doing it for them. And I kind of cloak it as support when really it's caretaking. Sometimes we give support, or we think we know what people need. And so that's what we're giving. That's the support that we're giving. And we think we know what support they need. And we haven't even asked, what support they may need or may like, or even if they want it. Right. And so we're so busy doing it, instead of finding out what the other person needs. Also, sometimes we're offering support, but it's very controlling, meaning we're giving people advice, telling them what they should be doing, trying to force people. Like, parents, you can probably relate to this around your kids, how many times we've tried to force them to do something. And I don't know if that works in your house, but that does not work well in my in my house. In fact, I think in my house, when you try to force someone to do something, they automatically do the opposite. They just automatically.
Well, there you go. Don't fill the dishwasher and do not vacuum right now.
Maybe I should try that, Bruce. That's actually a great idea.
Melissa actually chimed in and says, when I'm stressed, I'm caretaking my kids because it saves me time.
Oh gosh, I can so relate to that.
Yes.
You know what? Let's just get it done. Let's just get it done. Right? I can so relate. It's just easier if I do it myself. Oh my gosh, I've done that so many darn times. And the problem with that is that it becomes a routine. If I find myself in this routine of always doing that just to move the process along, or just to get it done the way I want it, or to save time or whatever, and if I do that for too long, then what have I taught my kids? Then I've taught my kids that mom will always do it. Mom will just do it, right? And so they don't have to do all those things that they should be completely capable of doing, and that can help them become a responsible little human being. They don't have to do that stuff because mom will do it, right? Or dad will do it. And so, yeah, I can relate to that one.
Yeah.
What else?
They also don't end up understanding the benefit of the struggle and the repeat, the failure and repeat, and then the success. And as they get older, then they're a little less capable of when they're out on their own. And, I see this in people I work with. I mean, there's some people who obviously were raised in a house where they were empowered to try stuff and figure out how to succeed, and other people who come back every 20 minutes and say, okay, I did this step, what do I need to do next? And there's a total difference in how it is to work with those kinds of people. I don't want to be somebody's parent in the workplace, but I think they've relied on that kind of support all their life, and now they're not knowing how to do things or take the risk and have somebody say, well, that didn't work out, what else could you try? Instead of, they just feel horrible about not being able to do it, so they're frozen. Not that doing this during COVID-19 for 20 minutes is going to create that in somebody, but as you said, if it becomes a routine, then it's a problem. If it becomes, once in a while, McDonald's French fries are good, but not as a regular food item, so same thing.
You're obviously not on my COVID diet.
No. So did you hear, just as an aside, and this is totally silly, but there's so many potatoes in Belgium that the Belgian government has asked people to eat twice as many French fries because there's a potato glut over there and they're just going to go to waste.
Well, if I have to help,
Yes.
I may as well.
I'm supporting the Belgian population by eating more French fries.
Don't want those potatoes to go bad.
So we've got about 7 minutes or so before we need to start wrapping up. And I've got a couple questions that have come through. I want to share those too. But do you want to go through, just can finish up your points and then we can get to some questions?
Well, I think the biggest point about giving other people support is finding out what they need, right? Finding out what kind of letting people know that you're there for them. If you see someone struggling, let them know how it feels to see them struggle, and find out what they need. And then also, instead of giving advice like, well, why don't you just do X, Y, and Z? A good question to ask is, okay, so what are you willing to do about that? What are you willing to do today about that? What are you willing to do this week about that? Instead of telling them what we think they should do. So I just wanted to make that point.
Yeah, now I'll add on to that. So, if somebody you can see is really stuck, and at this point they really don't know what to do, instead of giving them advice, an important thing is to say, well, I'm not in that same position, but I remember when I was in a similar position, here's what I tried. These two things didn't work. Here's what I eventually did that worked for me. And then stopped. You're not giving them advice or telling them that would work, but you're tossing up some things for them to think about. And it can be really supportive to somebody to get their engine started, because there are a lot of people out there that are just kind of frozen. I'm so upset right now. And I'll give you a story from telling people what to do and how it backfires. So one of my kids, when they were growing up, was very indecisive. And so we would make a suggestion. Well, why don't you try this? And then when it would fail, they would say, well, I didn't want to do that in the first place. And so at a certain point, I said to my spouse, we need to stop offering any suggestions. It's better for this child to just stay there and do nothing than to, have the excuse that we're giving bad advice. And so we literally stopped. And for a while, it was really uncomfortable. But eventually, this child began to think for themselves, and now great decision maker. But we were setting ourselves up as a group to fail by giving suggestions, and then the excuse was it wasn't my idea. So it's really important to find a way to support people without telling them what to do. Even if they say, I don't know what to do, what do you think I should do? Find a way to, share an experience and then say, what does that make you think of, instead of, do you want to try that thing? I also think it's important around this. If the answer is no, I can't help you, to be really clear to say, as much as I'd love to support you right now, I don't have the time, or I am not willing to take on what you need, because being a yes who's really a no is incredibly destructive to the person that you care about or who's contacted you. Better off to be honest with them and say, right now I can't do that, than to lead them on thinking you will, because they're struggling. And if you're not going to do it, and if you take it on and you think you were going to, and something's getting in the way, get in touch with them as quickly as possible, because they're thinking that you're, whatever it is, the phone calls you're making, or the people you're referring them to, or the groceries you're picking up, if that doesn't happen, that makes it even more difficult for them. So as hard as it is to say, you know what, now I can't go to the grocery store for you, let them know as quickly as possible.
Really, really great point. Yeah. Donna is actually learning some things because her college son is back home and they're both watching this right now. And through him speaking up, she says, it showed me what I was doing wasn't working. I was doing my best to control him instead of using all the tools I learned. So asking him what he needs and truly listening, then changing my actions, and I've become a better listener.
That's great.
Yeah.
And that reminds me, Taryn, if you want to see how to ask for support, go find an 8-year-old or a 6-year-old. They have all they want is to have their needs taken care of. They will ask for everything they need. And there are some people who continue that in life. My stepmom just asks and asks and asks. And we talked about it a couple of weeks ago. And she said, well, if I don't ask, the answer is always no. I mean, nobody's offering to do this stuff for me. So I just ask. And she says, you'd be surprised the number of times that people are willing to do what I ask, whether whether it's, she's at the car dealer and she wants, a free car wash or something else. She just asks. The worst that can happen is they say, no, we can't do that for you. So kids are really great at that. And then at some point they get sort of, the energy just changes and, probably from enough rejections. And then they start to feel the rejection isn't about the person not wanting to do the thing, but the rejection is about themselves. And then they stop asking. Many of us have experienced that. So find a child or a grandchild and let them teach you how to ask for support.
One game that I've heard of I play a lot, especially when I travel, is to try to get one no every day. So to ask a ridiculously absurd question that you think someone is going to say no to. And if you get a no, you get a point. And if you get a yes, you're pleasantly surprised by how willing people are to offer support. So that's a fun game you can play in quarantine if you are looking for something.
And Taryn, that's really a great idea for people who are, just really hesitant to ask for anything. So ask for something outrageous and know that the chances are you're going to get a no, and see how you get used to the feeling of having somebody say, no, I can't come clean your house today. So yeah, that's great.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. So I think those are really, there are a couple of little questions, but seemed like those were asked earlier in the beginning and got resolved. So the topic today was really relevant. I think just seeing the amount of participation we had today and the number of eyes on this topic, I think it couldn't have come at a better time. And you did such a great job of explaining how we can ask for help and really identifying what is getting in the way of that, for sure. Yeah. So I have a couple of closing things to say, unless you have any last words. And not last words. Let's not get too morbid here. But Amanda or Bruce, any final thoughts before I wrap things up?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to everybody that's joined, not just this lemonade, but all the other ones. This is so much fun. I do get to work with Amanda and Taryn, and hearing the names of so many people I know from the classes, and then hearing some names of people I don't know who might be students I've never met or even new to Pathways. It's just really motivating. And I learned like 3 things from Amanda and Taryn sharing today that weren't on my original list of thoughts around giving and receiving support. So it's been really helpful to me. So thank you, everybody. Thanks to Taryn and Amanda.
Yeah, and I just want to say it's great to be with all of you out there, even though we can't see you in person. There's just still this sense of being together with you that is just really wonderful. So thanks for tuning in. Thank you, Taryn, for a great job as always. Thanks, Bruce, for sharing this time with me, and can't wait to do the next one.
Yeah, so Pathways would like to thank Better World for funding the Lemonade sessions. And as I mentioned before, there's a donate button down there. If you found value in the sessions and have the financial means to make a donation of any denomination, please consider contributing either by clicking that donate button or visiting pathwaystoabetterworld.com. Or my favorite, if you shop on Amazon, you can sign up through smile.amazon.com and you add Pathways to a Better World as your recipient. And then it doesn't cost you any money, but every purchase you make from Amazon, a small portion of that purchase goes to Pathways. I think at last count, I was at 80 something purchases that have benefited Pathways to a Better World. So you're welcome. I might be single-handedly funding all scholarships for my Amazon purchases. And we have a couple of exciting things going on and coming up. As I mentioned, Fix Your Picker is coming. It starts tomorrow, Tuesday evening. If you are interested in signing up for that, I'm putting the link in right now.
Really quick, I mean, Sue is the picker fixer guru, if you don't already know that. I mean, she's amazing at supporting people in attracting more of the kinds of people that you want in your life versus the kinds that you don't. So don't miss that virtual seminar. It's going to be awesome.
Super reasonable, $99 for one. If you sign up with a friend, you get a discount. And that also helps you with your homework, because there's going to be a thing that you go out and do after all of these restrictions are lifted. So it's great to have a friend to do it with you. Also, and Storm gives it 5 stars. I have heard nothing but amazing comments on Fixture Picker. So I am super excited about that. Coaching, if you're interested in one-on-one or couples or family or group coaching with Sue Page, you can email office@pathwaysseminars.com. That's pathways with an S, seminars.com. Also, if you're new to this, you can like this page that you're on right now. So you're already halfway there, Pathways to Successful Living Seminars, and that will keep you up to date on all of the new offerings. Goal Getters, we mentioned earlier. Lauren, keep an eye out for that. And we have a lot of fun virtual content coming your way. So be sure to like the page, the Pathways page as well. And we will see you all on Friday. We start at 12 noon, 1 Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. And they're also available for replay, where we will be chatting with Sue Page. Fridays are more of an open topic, so come with your questions, come with concerns, what's going on in the world right now and what's going on with you personally, and Sue will do her magic and help you turn those lemons into lemonade. So we will see you all next time. Stay safe, everybody, and talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.